Hi, everybody. My name is Megan Blickman, and I'm the training director for the 2021 runoff campaign here in Georgia. Thanks for joining your volunteer Canvas training. Today, I'm going to walk you through why we canvas, what your canvassing will look like. We'll discuss our health and safety protocols. You'll learn minivan, and then I'll share next steps. Today, you'll complete this training and learn everything you know to be successful while you're canvassing. Then you'll download and set up Minivan, which is the free app that we use to canvass. And then you'll get ready to talk to voters and make them excited to take action for Ossoff and Warnock. And the work that you do is so important. We will canvass today so that we can reach some voters who we can't otherwise contact. We don't have a phone number or an email address for them. And we know that in order to win, we have to turn out voters from every single corner of the state. We're also able to do additional outreach to voters who we might have called or texted, but we know they need an extra push to take action. And last, we're able to do really important voter education that goes beyond the hours of polls being open. It's about making sure that people know how to vote correctly, where their nearest drop box is. That education makes such a difference. And the work that you do today is immensely important because we know that canvassing is our single most effective tactic to turn a person out to vote. And that's been proved time and time again by think tanks such as the Analyst Institute. And they famously found that when we have a conversation with a voter within 10 days of voting and use the right language, we can actually increase their likelihood to vote, which is pretty powerful stuff. So let's discuss the conversation that you'll have with voters. First, please know that on election day, polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Additionally, when you go to the polls, you'll need to show photo ID, and you should share some examples of that, such as a Georgia driver's license, even if it's expired, any valid state or federal issued photo ID, US passport, US military ID, a student ID from a public university or college. In addition, on election day, you've got to vote at your assigned precinct. If someone is a first-time Georgia voter, they might need to take proof of where they live. And examples of that proof include a copy of their lease, a bank statement, or a utility bill to prove you live and are entitled to vote where you are voting. They've got to bring it with them. If a voter has a mail ballot in hand, they need to return it in person to their county elections office or a drop box. It is our recommendation that it's too late to return their ballot via USPS in order to be counted on time. It's got to go to the county elections office or a drop box. If voters have questions or need help, you should send them to our hotline which is run by the Democratic Party of Georgia at 888-730-5816. If someone needs to look up information about voting, like where their polling place is, they should go to iwillvote.com/GA. No need to memorize this. It'll be all over your resources. Here's the script. You start with, "Hi, is Susan available?" You say, "Hi, my name is Megan, and I'm with the Democratic Party of Georgia, working to elect Jon Ossoff and Reverend Raphael Warnock to the United States Senate. How are you doing today?" Then you say, "I'm here because Election Day is January 5th, and Georgians have the chance to vote for two Democrats who will best represent and fight for Georgia in Washington. I know that Reverend Raphael Warnock and Jon Ossoff will both fight for Georgia residents in the Senate, and I'm supporting them because," share your reason. If it were me, I say because they both believe in and support affordable and accessible healthcare for all Americans. Then you go to the confirm support question. You always start here. You say, "Will you be supporting both Jon Ossoff and Reverend Raphael Warnock in the upcoming runoff election?" If someone's strong Dem or lean Dem, that's great. Go on to the vote method ask. If someone is strong GOP, don't get into an argument, just say thanks so much and move along. If someone's undecided or lean GOP, you actually have a really important opportunity to try to persuade them over to our side by connecting on shared values. What's something that you care about that the voter also cares about, and why are our two candidates the best ones for that issue? Then you do your vote method ask. You say, "Great, the best way to ensure that we flip these seats is by making a plan to vote." When do you plan to vote on election day? Is it going to be the morning, afternoon, or evening? How do you plan on getting to the polls? Is it driving, walking, or biking? By making this really specific plan, we are more likely to ensure that the voter follows through on it. If someone is voting on election day, you say the election will determine control of the US Senate, and we want to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to cast their vote. The best way to do this is by making a plan to vote. Remind them that when they need to go to the polls, they need to show photo ID and share examples. And then on election day, you have to vote at your assigned precinct. Can I check that location for you? And you check it at iwillvote.com/GA. If you are a first-time Georgia voter, you may need to take proof of where you live and give them examples of that, their proof of residence. Remind them that polls are open on election day from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. If someone is voting by mail, we say again, this election will determine control of the US Senate, and we want to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to cast their vote. If they say they're voting by mail, we say we advise using a drop box in your county or your election office. At this point, it's about walking the person through the steps to make sure that they vote properly. And then we vote triple. We say, who are 3 friends that you will commit to voting on election day with you? By asking someone to commit to tell 3 friends to vote, we're able to exponentially increase our work in Georgia and hopefully bring home the win even more. And then you make your volunteer ask and close out. You say, we are so glad to have your support. As you know, this is a really important election, and we are counting on supporters like you to educate other voters on how they can cast their ballot on January 5th. Can we count on you to volunteer to flip the United States Senate? You as volunteers are in the best position to ask someone else to join you in volunteering. Remember, these are your really critical questions to make a plan to vote with someone. How they're getting there, when they're going, where they're going and where they're coming from, and will they remind others? Because here's the thing, a conversation that you have with a voter during Get Out the Vote and Election Day is successful when you end the conversation knowing exactly how and when the voter is voting. It is critical that you walk away with that information and that the voter makes that plan with you. Here's the health and safety protocols for canvassing. First of all, please know that the health and safety of volunteers and voters is our top priority, and all safety protocols must be followed by every staff member and volunteers at all time. There's just no wiggle room here. To that end, you must complete today's training as well as our volunteer health and safety acknowledgement form before beginning your canvassing shift. You must not have a temperature over 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit, be experiencing any COVID or COVID-like symptoms. You mustn't have been in contact with anyone who's tested positive for COVID in the past 2 weeks, and you must not have tested positive for COVID yourself in the past 2 weeks. If you do not meet these criteria, you are not permitted to canvass. Please don't even come to the office if you're feeling sick or have been exposed. Please remember that everything you do today will be contactless. Your masks must be worn over your nose and mouth at all times. Please keep at least 6 feet of social distance between you and others at all times. Once you've knocked or rung the doorbell on a house, take at least 6 big steps back, and all lit should be left on the door or on the doormat. Here's what will happen before your canvass shift. First, when you arrive, you'll have your temperature taken with a no contact forehead thermometer, and then you'll fill out our Georgia Health and Safety check-in form. If you have questions when you're there or when you're out in the field, you'll have a point of contact, either the staging location director or another volunteer or staff member that you can call up to troubleshoot. This is what will happen during your canvass shift. So first you'll go to the correct home, which is the address listed in the minivan app. We are not canvassing every single door. Then you'll knock on the door. You should leave a piece of lit on the door handle or under the doormat, and then ring the doorbell or knock. Some people prefer to use a small object like a golf ball so that you don't actually have to touch the surface. Then you should immediately take 6 big steps back. That way, when someone answers the door, there's already the proper social distance between the two of you. You should wait roughly 30 seconds, and if no one answers, just assume they're not home. But hopefully a lot of people come to the doors. You should wave and greet the voter. You should introduce yourself as a volunteer with the Georgia Democrats and make sure that you're talking to the voter that matches the name on your list. There also might be more than one voter who lives in each home, so make sure that you talk to each person. Also, keep our health and safety in mind, maintain social distancing, and no handshakes, close talking, or physical contact. You should follow the script and the key components and record the responses in Minivan, which we'll talk about next, but also make the conversation real, share your values with each other, and don't feel pressured to be a policy expert. You can refer folks to our candidates' websites or the literature. And for questions for voting, your best resource is iwillvote.com/GA. You should spend no more than 5 minutes with a single voter. At the end of your conversation, make sure they've got the lit and thank them for their time. I also like to thank people for being voters because voting is a really big deal and people should be thanked for it. It comes down to these do's and don'ts. You need to finish your entire walk list. If you don't talk to these voters today, nobody else will. You should use the script, but make it real. Be friendly but persistent. Get through that whole conversation. Maintain your 6 feet of social distance and your mask over your nose and mouth. Speak loudly, clearly, enunciate those words. It's so important, especially when you're wearing a mask. Don't forget to have fun because what we're doing is not only immensely important, but very fun. And you should also keep really open and engaging and friendly body language. Please do not put literature in a mailbox. It's actually a federal crime. Don't be rude or get into an argument. It's just not why we're here. Don't give the voter an out by saying things like, do you have a minute or are you busy? And then no physical contact and don't enter anyone's home. If someone is hostile, you should leave the house, and if it's necessary, go somewhere safe, like your car, a friendlier home, or perhaps the overhang of a restaurant or store. If someone asks why the campaign is canvassing, just explain that you're working to ensure that everyone in your community has a plan to vote, and we are taking safety precautions. Okay, Minivan. Minivan is the app that we use on Android or iPhone to see which voters to reach. And when you open the app, you see a list of people and the addresses, and these are our potential supporters. It's how you know how to contact. If you're watching this on your phone, no problem, finish watching the training, and then you can download Minivan. So you start by going to the iTunes or Google Play Store and downloading Minivan. It might be called Minivan Touch or Minivan 8. Just look out for that blue icon. Then you'll open up Minivan and log in with your Action ID. If you don't have an Action ID yet, it's no problem, just create one, the way you would for any sort of website. Then enter the list number that you've received at the office and hit Download List. Once you've downloaded the list, you can bring up the addresses and a list of voters. You'll switch between Map View and Household View. Map View is what you see on the left. It's literally all of the homes on a map, and you're that little blue dot. You can use the menu button, which is those 3 lines in the upper left-hand corner, to switch back to household view, which is just the addresses in a list. It's sort of up to you which one you prefer. For me, it's a balance. You can also use the filter button in the lower left-hand corner, which helps you switch between even numbered addresses and odd numbered addresses, which just makes you a more efficient canvasser because you can do the even number addresses and on one side of the street and then cross and come back doing the odd number. You can pull up a voter either by clicking on their home or clicking on their household and then hit their name to bring up their profile, and you can see all of their information. If a voter's requested the ballot or they've already voted, you can actually see that in Minivan as well as their polling location. So their polling location is under details. You can see this here. Alice's polling location is the Swiss Village and includes her address and early voting. But early voting might be over by the time you watch this. So just make sure that you're clear on that. In addition, if someone has requested and been mailed their ballot, the voted status will read ball mail, and you must make a plan with them to return their ballot today. We really suggest doing that in a Dropbox or the county clerk's office. A blue V next to someone's name indicates that they've already cast their ballot, but you should go to their home anyway and just make sure. And also you can always vote triple and make the volunteer ask. When you record your work, you start by going to the script section. If you don't speak to someone, just select the response of why you didn't talk to them. It's just like clicking a little button in the app. But like I said, hopefully you speak to everybody, and you should go through and record the voters' responses to each question. We start here with their confirmation of support, how they're voting, and so on. Don't forget to vote triple, like I said, and always make that volunteer ask, then thank someone for their time. You're just clicking off these little check boxes, as you can see. Throughout your shift and also when you're done canvassing, you click on that cloud icon in the upper right-hand corner, and that sends the results of your canvassing to our database. That way we can follow up on all your great conversations. I usually sync my data every 10 minutes. It's kind of up to you how frequently you want to do it when you're canvassing, but you've got to do it at the end of your shift, no matter what. Remember, always sync at the end of your shift. You can check out your progress by going to menu. Remember those three lines in the upper left-hand corner, and then hitting list details, where you can check on your progress, see how many doors are on your list, how many voters are on your list, and so on. Here are the materials that you'll use. First of all, you can see all of our volunteer resources at https://bit.ly/GA-vols. You'll see a canvassing guide, a minivan guide, a video just for minivan, really useful materials. These are the materials that will help you become a better canvasser. I just mentioned them again, the minivan guide, your volunteer canvassing guide. Obviously, the website doesn't have PPE, but the office will, or you can choose to bring your own if you would prefer that. And then there will always be someone there to answer any questions that you have. This is what comes next. First, make sure that you're signed up to Canvas, and tell your friends and family to sign up too at mobilize.us/Georgia Democrats. We have got to win on January 5th because it's just so important. And the only way to do that is to have everybody who can out on the doors as frequently as possible. Make sure to complete the health and safety questionnaire when you arrive to the office. And last, reach out to your organizer or your point of contact with any questions that you have. On behalf of the entire coordinated campaign for the runoff, thank you so much for canvassing today. It is the single most important thing that you can do to impact the outcome of this election, and I am just thrilled to be in the fight with all of you. Let's do this.